Hello there, Patricia here. And today we are going to be talking about when personal growth shows up in the little things. Oh my goodness, it has been very eye opening to recognize. Like, first, kudos to me for recognizing it, right? Because that's a whole thing, but also to just understand and see where things that would have previously sent you over the edge, or you've gotten all worked up about, or whatever, like, don't phase you. You're there. It's not a thing anymore. And so this is going to be a little conversation about, checking in about some of those things and why I think it's happened, and how you can identify them for yourself. So, but before we get into that conversation, please remember to hit the thumbs up and the like button and subscribe so that it can be pushed out to other people who might enjoy these conversations. And of course, I would always love if you would actually share them with others that you think could benefit from it. Okay, so how this conversation came about, I always like to generally say that. I don't always do it, but it it came about because I was thinking about my plants, my house plants. So anyone who knows me, I have, lots of hobbies, always have. So it's not like, oh, now that you're not, doing that crazy legislative job hours, you have time for that. No, no, no. Even then, actually, I recognize now that that's how I survived some of that craziness, working those crazy hours and expectations, is because of the hobbies that I had, right? Again, different conversation, different story, but definitely the reason why I always encourage my clients to either revive a hobby or to pick one up when you're going through a lot of stuff, because it is absolutely an outlet that is needed during challenging times, and also when there's not so challenging, you just want to make sure that you are enjoying your life. So that said, I have re-engaged with my houseplant hobby over the last year or two, not quite, maybe, I guess so, because I was doing a lot of gardening outside. So, I was uh, doing stuff outside again, and then I started doing stuff inside. Yes, because when the weather changed and really started, going all in. And it had been years since I kept a significant number of plants in my house. And like, the number that's in my house right now is absolutely probably the most I've ever had. I think I'm well over 30. Um, I haven't counted. I haven't counted in a little bit, so I need to go count. But in any case, it's a significant number when you had crawled back to like five, if that. Right? Like, there was a lot. There was a lot going on in my life. There was a lot going on in life, and I was doing good to take care of me and my kids and my household, and that was it. So this in and of itself is a huge thing, to be able to be like, I am putting more of myself into another living thing that is not a person, and there's something to be said for that. Um, so with my houseplants, one of the things that over the years I've always been consistent is, I would get, or just planting, even with gardens, I would get really worked up if something would not, like, if it didn't sustain itself, or if it didn't work out, like I'm putting all this effort into trying to keep it alive and to keep it going, and something would happen that I couldn't explain, and I would, sorry, I just had this thought of, let me make sure my mic is on, because we wouldn't want to have another one of those episodes where I recorded a whole session with no mic. Um, so I would get really worked up about, oh my goodness, what have I done wrong? And I need to go do this. And then, when it, if it died and it didn't make it, I'd be like, oh, and I would just be like devastated because I'm like, oh, what have I, what did I do? And I've got to do something better. Well, yeah, there was a lot going on because it was like, that's more than about the plant. Because sometimes they just don't make it. Seedlings don't make it when you plant them outside. The rabbits get to them, the squirrels get to them, the sun, cooks it, whatever. Like things happen. And here is the piece that I'm like so proud of is yes, I can be, a little irritated, but I'm like, oh, that's sad. It didn't make it, chunk. It's like, the rabbits got to it, pull it out, throw it away. And that seems like such a simple thing. And I know it seems like that's so, but when I tell you the level of angst I used to have and give to myself getting worked up over something like this is huge, huge. I mean, I literally just tried to nurse two orchids for 6 months. They were given to me. So they're not something I bought. They were given to me. And I'd never had orchids before. So I'm trying to whatever, and I'm watering, I'm doing things. I didn't understand how they were potted, whatever. Like, I find this all out long after, like, one of them is clearly giving up the ghost and the other one is trying to hang on. So I'm taking them apart, and I'm great at teaching myself stuff. I go do the research and I learn it, and I did. One of them, went. I knew that one was going to go. The other one I was reviving, and then it got sick or whatever, and I was like, well, I tried. And last week I said, oh, it's been nice, and I chunked it. After I'd spent like a lot of time like repotting it a few weeks ago to try and save it or whatever, and I'm like, nope. And some other ones I'm just going, I'm like, oh, you're not liking it, clip. And it is so refreshing. Let me tell you, it is absolutely refreshing to have that. And I recognize it as being a huge step in my own growth because it means I am not just being forgiving of things external, but I'm being forgiving of things for myself because I would always blame myself. It's like there must be something I did wrong. Well, guess what? It might be that there was something you did wrong, and it happens. Like it's a process. It's a learning opportunity. It's a learning experience. It's okay. Like this is not a matter of like some traumatic life or death matter. And so yeah, I just have to share that because that's the first one that came to mind as far as having a period of like serious growth where I am not fretting over that. Now, will I fuss about my plants? Absolutely, I still will. I have one that's giving me these yellow leaves, and I'm like, I have no idea. You're literally sitting in front of a window that does not give scorching sunlight. And I did my more research only to learn that this one actually wants more water, probably. I'm like, okay, so I'll make my little adjustments and we'll see. It's a plant that I paid full price for. It is not a rehab plant, it is not a clipping. And so I would kind of like for it to make it. So there is that, part of me that's like, no, we're going to need to work out a little bit. And if it doesn't, I'm going to be okay about it. I'm going to chunk it if I have to. I don't hope it doesn't come to that, but I will. I hope you're not hearing my tummy because clearly it's time for me to eat and I need to make sure and do that. The other, I have another one, my peace lily, which is huge. I mean, it's in a pot. I think that's a 12-inch pot. It's huge. And I repotted it after we'd gotten it. It was sent and it was nice size. It was full size when we received it. And it's been growing and it is sucking up water. And I'm like, oh my God, I know what that means. It means like it's hydrophobic, which means, the soil needs to be refreshed because it's not holding water and it's sucking it up. Like this plant needs to be repotted. And I've been trying to make it through the winter to the spring before I do that, because I also have another decision that has to be made is, am I going to upsize it as it is, which means putting it in an even larger pot, which is really big, right? That would mean putting it into like a 14-inch diameter pot. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's going to be huge. Or am I going to split it? And I am hedging because I don't know what I want to do. I don't know what I want to do. And I'm having, I won't call it angst. It is this, you're going to have to make a decision because this plant really needs to come out of this pot before it does say, I don't like you anymore and starts dying off, which we don't want that to happen. And I'm okay with that. And I know I will make that decision, move on. But there is another time where I would totally have been fretting about all of this and be like, oh, and I'm like, I'm not fretting. I'm recognizing it when I water and I'm like, yeah, I know. I'm gonna take care of you. I gotta figure out what it is I want to do and where I'm gonna put a second one if I do. Like it's a part of the process. And so that I'm actually enjoying the process as opposed to being angsty about what the outcome is. And I think that's one of those things because we're so concerned about getting to the outcome and what the outcome is going to be that we forget to enjoy the process along the way and remembering that there's so much to be learned in the experience that's gained along the way. Oh my goodness, that was a word, right? Yes, yes. And so that's one of the things. Another one that's really, really clear for me is, people, God bless us, family, friends, you know, kids, people that are close to us, do stuff that absolutely, will set us off, right? I mean, it's little things that get under our skin. And it's a process. I will say, I'm not going to say that there aren't things that still don't get under my skin because there are. However, the level of angst has decreased greatly. And I'm like, well, that was stupid, but okay, I'm going to move along, right? I mean, like, that is a huge thing for me as well. Now, granted, I have a whole new motivation for not letting stupid stuff get under my skin because I actively have to maintain lower stress levels because unfortunately through after so many years of like high stress job, high stress situations and all of these things that now is like, yeah, stress kind of triggers a whole other thing, and an illness and that's chronic. And so I have to actively be mindful of that, which is, but is it really worth you getting worked up about? And I have to say no. And I have to be like, okay. That doesn't mean I don't have to I don't get aggravated. It doesn't mean that I am suddenly this woosah, like, oh, all vibes. No, trust me, there are like full blown screaming fits that happen when I'm in the house alone. And then I'm like, I'm good. And I move on to the next thing. Right? So it's a matter of acknowledging it. I still acknowledge those things. I address them differently. I don't internalize, because that's the thing, was internalizing a lot of that angst before, and I do not do that anymore. So you're going to hear it from me one way or the other, or you're going to see the results of it. Because for me personally, it has magnified into a health issue that I have to monitor. So guess what? Yeah, no, not worth it. So I'm not doing that. But it's a matter of, that's a process though, right? I didn't just get there. I had to go through some stuff to recognize this is not worth it. It simply isn't. And the space where I really have seen it, I'm very proud of myself on this one. Anyone who knows me knows I do a lot of volunteering. I've always served on a lot of boards and committees and all that kind of stuff. A balance between doing it for my career, but then also I truly come from a background of where we give back to our communities and engage with them. So that balance there. But again, overachieving Patricia down through the years, probably if I go back and look, I was probably overcommitted more than once. I mean, to the point that folks that I have served with over a long period of time, I'm thinking about one CEO in particular. When I say that I cut back, she's like, yeah, right. And I was like, what? And she's like, I'm just saying, like, I'm happy to use you, but I do not want you, going to extremes or whatever. So you let me know when you're available. So that said, I have been very, very aggressive about pulling back from things externally, in particular, pulling back from those things or activities or organizations where I'm like, oh, I must be done here. My time is served here. Or where I was not feeling uh, where I was feeling taken for granted, or where I wasn't feeling like the work I was giving was the contributions were really kind of worth it. And it sounds a little egotistical, and it really wasn't about ego. It was about people will pull from you as long as you give. And all that angst and being worked up about it and resentment and all of that can happen. And guess what? They will still take as long as you're giving. So I stopped giving. I was like, well, that's not going to be a great long term solution. Thank you so much. It's been lovely knowing you all. I'm going to be moving on from this experience. And I did it very aggressively over the last 5 years. I'm really proud of myself. I really am. Because there was a time I would not have, even as recently as a few years before that, because I felt like there was an obligation. Like, guess what? Just like they say, there's always someone to replace you at your job. That is the truth in these other organizations as well, right? It may not be at the same level, whatever, but that is not for me to take on personally. And that was another piece where I was internalizing a lot of things that didn't need to be, and I needed to let them go. That was about me. That was about me, and I needed to learn to let that go because it was no longer serving me. And that's that third piece where it's like, what are you still doing? What was I still doing that was no longer serving me? And I mean in a healthy way, not in a transactional way. Because do we have those transactional things? Sure. But I'm not talking about that. I'm like, but from where my goals are currently and what I'm trying to achieve next, like, is this still a part of where I'm headed? Or should it be? And if the answer is no, then why are you still doing it? Those are the questions I'm having myself. Why are you still doing it? It's like, well, I really feel like I need to. Or someone's like, oh, but we need you. And it's time to move on. And all of that can be true. And it's still time to move on. And I just got better at it. I got really good at it, and I'm excited about that. And I've had a few surprises where I stepped away from one organization that I didn't anticipate going, and I stayed at one that I thought I was like, I'm out of here 2 times over, right? But I've, again, as part of my growth process of like, okay, but where is it? Because I know that should I get to that point where I'm like, I'm not sure about this anymore, I have the power within me to say it's been lovely and it's time for me to move on. And so that I am cultivating a um, a group of experiences that mean something to me right now today, not what old me needed. Oh, the power in that statement. Because sometimes we really are still trying to feed our old selves and not feed who we are today. We're aggravating who we are today, trying to feed our old selves, our old egos, whatever, all those things. And I'm like, but that's not who I am today. This is who I am today. Here's what I bring to the table today and how I would like for it to be received or how I would like to give, whatever that might be. And if that can't come together, in a way that's beneficial, mutually beneficial to both of us, then I'm going to step away. Ah, growth, y'all. Growth. And this applies in every area of our lives, right? Personal, professional, whatever. It applies across the board. Like when you recognize that you've grown to a new level of you, and some of the things that you tolerated, you should not be tolerating anymore. Whether it's at home, whether it's with family and friends, whether it's out in your workplace or in your community, it may be time to move on, and it's okay. I'm here to tell you it is absolutely okay. And so it requires you sitting down and doing some reflection. I'm going to go there. Yes, I am. But that's truly what has worked for me, not just in this. I mean, I've done this over the years, but really had to do it in this most recent, is sitting down like, where am I with this organization, with this thing, with this experience, and what do I want it to be? And do I still need to be involved? Or do I still need to engage in this way? Because if the answer is no, then I have to do something different. Because most of the time, the change is not going to happen on the external. Sometimes it does. Sometimes it changes permanently. Sometimes it changes temporarily. That still should not affect my ability to make the decision for what it is I'm going to do for myself right now today. And sometimes we have to write that out in order to get to the truth of the matter and not just think through, because we'll toss a whole bunch of stuff around our head, justify it, and then keep going. No. When you write it out on a piece of paper, that truth, that truth telling is something else when you put pen to paper. And if you get stuck and can't write it out, that's your answer right there. That is your answer. And so that's one of the tools I've always used, strategy I've always used. And then to say, okay, where does this fit? How do I want to move forward? What is it that I need to do? Do I need to communicate something to someone else? Or is this something I can simply handle with an action of my own? And I've utilized both, right? Sometimes it means having a conversation with a friend, a family member, whatever, so that you can make the decision about how you want to engage next. Definitely with an organization. But ultimately, that power to make a decision about how you move next lies within. Absolutely 100%. You have the power. I have the power to take the next step in the way that we want to, and in a way that works best for us, not just today, but for future you and future me. I think that's a great place to stop. Yeah, love it. Okay. I hope that you will remember to hit the thumbs up, like, subscribe, share this conversation with other people who could benefit from it. And I encourage you to remember that you are worth celebrating every single day. That whether it's a big win or a small one, it's definitely worth celebrating because they all matter. All right, take care. We'll talk again soon. Bye.